I want to talk about your first 100 videos. Most people quit YouTube far too early, way too early. And it's maybe because they lack the discipline. A lot of them lack discipline, or maybe they don't want it badly enough. And that could be an underlying cause because you just think it's easy money until you get started. But most people quit because they misunderstand the early stage and what that is actually for. The early stages, the 100 videos, they look at their first handful of videos and they see low views and slow growth and minimal engagement, and they assume something is wrong. That assumption quietly kills more channels than bad content ever could. Here's the truth that most people never hear clearly enough, and is that your first 100 videos don't matter in the way you think they should or that they do. And that's not an insult, not to you, it's a relief. The problem is that most creators treat those first 100 videos like they're supposed to prove something with them. Like, look at me, I got talent, look, all these videos, this 10 videos I did, check out my potential. I'm cut out for this, look. But when the proof doesn't show up quickly, doubt takes over. But when the first 100 videos, that was not what they were ever meant for. They were never meant to perform. The first 100 videos, they are there to teach you how to show up. And that distinction changes everything. Early videos aren't about audience growth. They're about creator growth. They exist to build skills that can't ever be learned any other way. You can't think your way into clarity. You earn it by posting the content, reviewing it, adjusting it, and repeating this process. Most people expect results before the foundation even exists. Imagine walking into the gym and for the first time, you judging your progress after 3 workouts, like where the muscles at. That wouldn't make sense, right? Yet that's exactly how people approach content. They upload a few videos, they expect momentum without the reps, but the first 100 videos are the reps. They train your voice, you help you work on your pacing, develop your comfort on camera. They exercise your ability to explain ideas clearly. The first 100. They train your tolerance for being seen without instant validation, without people acknowledging it. It gives you a thick skin. But none of that shows up in the analytics at first. And that's where people get discouraged. Views feel like feedback. But early on, they're mostly noise. The algorithm doesn't know you yet. The audience doesn't trust you yet. You don't even fully understand what you're best at. Expecting performance at that stage is like expecting to look polished doing your first practice. The real job of the first 100 videos is calibration. You're learning what you actually enjoy talking about, learning what drains you, or which ideas have depth, and which ones sound good only in your head. You figure out how long you can talk before you start rambling. You learn all those lessons in the 100 videos. Those lessons are invisible unless you are paying attention. But most people aren't. They're not. They focus on numbers instead of patterns. They're looking at views instead of retention, already judging themselves instead of just studying their work. And that leads to emotional burnout before technical growth ever has a chance to build up. So here's something important to understand. YouTube rewards clarity over time, not intensity up front, not how hard you go. Creators who last aren't the ones who go the hardest in the beginning. They're the ones who stay long enough to develop the feedback, for the feedback to stack up. All your videos, they add information. Every upload teaches you something about how you communicate and how people respond to that communication. The first 100 videos are where that information gets collected. That's where you grow. That's where you learn. That's why they shouldn't excite you because of what they'll do for the channel. No. They shouldn't excite you for that. They should excite you because of what they do to you, who you become. Early creation removes those illusions, like the illusion that you need perfect confidence to start, or that preparation replaces your action. You don't need to act, you just need to prepare in the shadows. You need to do 100 videos. It removes the illusion that talent shows up fully formed. Nah. This is a reputation game. Posting early exposes these weaknesses. But that's the point. Weaknesses are only useful if they're visible. You can't fix what stays hidden. Most creators quit right before this process starts paying off. They stop at video 12 or 28 or 46 and they done. Hey, I didn't get the results I wanted. Right when the patterns are starting to form, when the discomfort is about to turn into familiarity and you get cool with it. Right when their voice is starting to settle, that's when they give up, but not you. They mistake silence for failure instead of recognizing it as space. The space to grow, spaces where the skills develop. Still, another reason for the first 100 videos, that reason don't matter the way people think it should because your audience doesn't exist yet. There's no crowd waiting to judge you, no reputation to protect, no momentum to lose. You don't lose none of that. They don't know who you are. That makes the early stage the safest time to experiment. You could try different formats and topics, maybe say things awkwardly and you start to refine them later. Or you post something imperfect without the consequences. That's cool. They're not going to shun you. Who are you? Most people don't use this window properly. They play it too safe, too early, and then avoid being themselves, trying to imitate something because they're afraid of getting it wrong. Ironically, that caution slows growth more than mistakes ever would. Keeping it real creates the clarity that attracts the right people. The first 100 videos are where that reality gets sharpened. Still, another misconception is that consistency early is about discipline and it's not at all. Consistency is about desensitization. You're teaching your nervous system that posting doesn't equal danger. You cool, you safe here. Posting is just a means to the end. You're reducing the emotional weight of hitting publish, what it all means. Everyone looking and your reputation on the line, like you a politician or something. Each repetition lowers that resistance. What once felt like intimidating, that becomes routine. The psychological shift matters more than the technical skills in this. The psychological shift. But still, creators who fail early aren't often lacking ideas. They're not. They're overwhelmed by the emotional load of the exposure, the worrisome shit. They read too much into every post, then attach a meaning to every result. This is what this means. I'm not good enough. Ready just to shut them own self and doubt their own self and beat themselves up. But the first 100 videos exist to break that attachment. Once posting becomes normal, creativity opens up. You stop protecting your ideas and you start expressing them. You start performing and start communicating. That's when content improves naturally. There's also a practical advantage most people miss. The algorithm doesn't penalize you early. It doesn't. It don't care about your mistakes. YouTube doesn't punish you for bad early videos. It doesn't label your channel as doomed because you didn't just start off the gate perfect. It simply gathers the data. That data helps it understand who your content might be for later. Simple as that. Early uploads are training signals. When you quit early, that training stops. Another important point, this is the very important point that deserves clarity. Most people overestimate how much their early work represents them. Your first videos are not your legacy. They're drafts, the rough sketches that allow better work to exist later. Nobody judges an artist by their first sketchbook. They judge them by the body of work until, let's say, the body of work built after years of practice. That's what you judge for. Content works the same way. The channels you admire didn't arrive fully formed. They evolved publicly. Their early videos were messy, very messy, unfocused, sometimes cringeworthy. And what made the difference is that they didn't treat those videos as verdicts. They didn't. They treated them as steps. There's also a mindset shift that takes place that makes the early stages easier. So stop thinking in terms of success or failure and start thinking in terms of signal collection. Every video gives you signals. Where did the people drop off at? Okay. Which parts felt natural to say? Okay, cool. What ideas could be expanded into multiple videos? I got it. And do these feel forced? That's when you start to really break down these signals. Those signals compound faster than views ever will. The people who understand this stop asking, why isn't this working? And start asking, what is this teaching me? Big difference. That question keeps you in the game. Still, another reason for the first 100 videos don't matter in the way you think it is because you're not supposed to be efficient yet. efficiency comes after clarity. Trying to optimize too early usually leads to burnout. You start chasing thumbnails, hooks, and trends and tactics before you understand your own voice. That creates noise instead of progress. The early stage is inefficient by design. You're exploring and testing things out, eliminating what doesn't fit. That process takes time. Skipping it doesn't speed things up. It creates gaps that show up later. There's also something freeing about realizing early videos don't matter. It removes the pressure, because pressure kills creativity. It tightens your delivery, eventually making you self-conscious. When you believe every video is a test, you perform worse. When you realize early videos are practice, expression loosens up. That looseness leads to authenticity. And that leads to connection. Connection is how you grow. You connect with the audience, you start to stick with it, and you develop from that point. The excitement comes from understanding that this early stage is protected. It's protected from judgment and expectations, especially from consequences. That protection disappears later, though. Once attention arrives, early on, though, you're invisible. And invisibility is a gift at this point when you first figuring this shit out. Most people want attention without earning invisibility first. That's backwards. Invisibility gives you room to become something worth paying attention to. The creators who stick around long enough just to reach a momentum at all, they share one trait. And that's because they stay curious longer than they stay judgmental. They allowed themselves to be beginners without turning into like an identity crisis or something. Because becoming focused on the volume of attempts instead of perfection of the outcome is what's most important. That's why the first 100 videos should excite you. You're going to just get good at it. Then they going to look. Once you're good, then you get the eyes. They give you permission to be bad without being done. They give you time to develop skills privately while practicing publicly. And once you pass that phase, things change. Your voice stabilizes and ideas sharpen. Confidence becomes grounded instead of performative. And posting feels less like exposure and more like expression. That's when results start to stack up. Not because you finally figured out the algorithm, because you finally figured out yourself. So if you're in the early stages of this process, feeling discouraged by numbers, questioning whether this is worth it, understand what stage you're actually in. You're not failing. You're simply training. Some of the best training you ever get. The first 100 videos aren't supposed to make you famous. They never were. They're supposed to make you capable. That's something worth being excited about, my friend. I'm telling you, I am. I'm going to do 100 more just for this video. Peace.